So, what do we have here?
Ray tracing active, native resolution, stable 40 frames per second on an AMD card.
That shouldn't be possible. Were we able to recover the data? Very interesting. Let's see if we can reproduce the scene.
Bro, that's ridiculous. What is this? Your AMD heat pipe can't even handle full ray tracing and path tracing.
Yes, as almost every GPU. Cyberpunk is one of the hardest ray tracing titles on the planet. RDNA 3 can run it, but it's clearly not optimized for full ray tracing scenes like these. And don't forget we are playing in native resolution. No upscaling, no tricks. Just raw performance.
Stupid AMD.
He is showing raster, ray tracing, and path tracing performance in native resolution. He mean it.
That is a violation against the first rule. Always use DLSS.
I know. By the way, the forensics were able to recover more data.
Here we are playing at 1440p, ultra settings without ray tracing. This is where RDNA 3 really shines. Performance is excellent. High and stable FPS, no stuttering, very smooth gameplay.
Waste of air!
The GPU is honestly almost chilling here. This is exactly the type of workload the RX 7900 XTX was designed for. If you play without ray tracing, This card delivers top-tier performance at 1440p Ultra.
Now!
Let's enable ray tracing. As you can see, performance drops significantly. In fact, it falls to less than half the original FPS. There are two main reasons for this. First, while the RX 7900 XTX does feature ray accelerators, NVIDIA's ray tracing and tensor core approach is still clearly ahead in this area. Second, ray tracing is simply extremely demanding, especially at native resolution.
Told ya! NVIDIA is superior! Not your AMD crap!
Not now, Billy. Adults are talking here. Anyway, at native 1440p with ray tracing enabled, the experience is not great. FPS typically ranges between 30 and 50, with noticeable stuttering and inconsistent frame times. If we go one step further and enable path tracing, things get even worse. FPS drops below 20, which makes the game basically unplayable. That said, and you can laugh at me for this, I'm actually impressed that we even hit around 20 FPS sometimes with native path tracing. This is an AMD GPU that is clearly not optimized for this type of workload. Yes, and this also happens a lot. Native ray tracing is already rough, and path tracing in native resolution is simply not viable on this GPU. But of course, we're not done yet, because this is where upscaling and frame generation come into play. With FSR quality enabled, performance improves significantly. FPS is much higher, and more importantly, gameplay feels noticeably smoother and more consistent. In my opinion, this is a playable and reasonable way to enjoy ray tracing on the RX 7900 XTX, if you really care about ray tracing visuals. With upscaling set to quality and frame generation enabled, performance improves significantly, but image quality takes a noticeable hit and appears washed out. Fine details are softer. The image looks slightly washed out, and motion clarity is not as clean as native rendering. It's not bad, but it's definitely noticeable, especially if you're sensitive to image quality. And path tracing with upscaling and frame generation enabled is, well, it's a mess. Let's be honest. Yes, FPS is high on paper, but your eyes don't lie. Frame times fluctuate, the image jitters, and overall smoothness just isn't there. It's one of those situations where the game technically runs, but practically doesn't feel good to play. So, what do you think about the ray tracing and path tracing performance of the RX 7900 XTX? Let's discuss it in the comments. If you found this benchmark useful, consider leaving a like and subscribing to support the channel. Thanks for watching.
Wait, that's it? That is your great RX 7900 XTX?
Yes.